I remember the day they tore me apart, the clearest of all, sharp words like knives slicing through my resolve. I was just 18 then, standing in my parents' cramped living room, clutching my battered sketchpad. I told them I wanted to be a painter, to make a mark with colors and strokes. Their laughter echoed in my ears, mocking, dismissive, brutal. Dad said I was chasing a childish fantasy, that I'd be wasting my life, embarrassing the family with that useless hobby. Mom shook her head, eyes filled with pity. They called it a joke, a pathetic dream, something that would end in failure and shame. I was nothing but a foolish kid with impossible hopes. That moment marked the beginning of my exile, an emotional wilderness where every step felt like climbing through fire. I left home with nothing but my brushes, a small backpack, and a vow I couldn't shake. Prove them wrong. I poured my soul into every canvas, every project, every late night trying to crack the code of game development. I was relentless. Every rejection, every setback was fuel. I worked in obscurity, my name unrecognized, my bank account empty. The world told me I was wasting my life, but I knew deep down this was my destiny. Years blurred into a relentless grind. I faced hunger, loneliness, self-doubt. I soldiered on, driven by the memory of their words. By the desire to silence that mocking voice in my head, slowly progress emerged. My art caught the eye of small galleries. I launched indie games that gained cult followings. Bit by bit, I chipped away at the impossible. I was finally becoming what I'd always known I could be, something real, something meaningful. And then came the breakthrough. My game went viral. I signed with a publisher. My paintings were exhibited in galleries across the country. Money poured in, but it wasn't just the success that mattered. It was the fact that I had built this from nothing, fueled by my own grit and refusal to give up. I had turned their doubts into a distant, fading echo. I was no longer the foolish dreamer, but a creator respected, validated, finally standing tall. The day I returned home, I knew exactly what I was doing. I wanted them to see what their ridicule had almost destroyed, and what I had become because I refused to surrender. I parked my sleek car in front of that old, tired house, the same house I'd left years ago with a broken spirit. I stepped out, dressed sharply, carrying a folder thick with awards, press clippings, and my latest masterpiece, a painting I knew they'd recognize. The door opened slowly. My parents stared, eyes wide, faces pale. They looked at me like they'd seen a ghost, their expressions caught somewhere between disbelief and dread. I walked inside, each step echoing with purpose, with the weight of years of silence and sacrifice. I laid the folder on the kitchen table. "Mom, Dad," I said, voice steady but filled with emotion. "This is what I've been working for. This is who I am." Their eyes flicked over the awards, the pictures of my games, my art. Their reactions were a mixture of shock and something I couldn't quite read, maybe regret, maybe awe. My father finally broke the silence, voice trembling. Almost choked. "Is this real? You actually made it?" I nodded. "Yes, because I refused to listen when you told me I was wasting my life. Because I believed in myself, even when no one else did." They looked at each other, silent. The room felt heavy with unspoken truths. My mother's eyes welled with tears she fought to hide. My father looked away, perhaps ashamed, perhaps proud. I couldn't tell. But I saw the moment, the recognition that their words had nearly shattered me, but I had risen anyway. It was then I realized something profound. They had underestimated me. They had dismissed a boy with a dream, calling it ridiculous, impossible, embarrassing. But I had turned that mockery into my mission. I had forged a path through fire, through doubt, through rejection. I was no longer the kid they mocked. I was proof that dreams, no matter how crazy they seem, are worth fighting for. As I turned to leave, I looked back at them, my parents, standing in that old house, transformed by my success. I knew this wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about reclaiming my life, my worth, my dignity. I had finally come home, not just physically, but spiritually, victorious. And as I drove away that night, I carried with me a quiet, unshakable truth. Never let anyone define your limits. Never let anyone tell you your dream is too foolish. Because the greatest victory is rising from the ashes of doubt and showing the world and yourself what you're truly capable of.